Hello everyone, Neolifer here. Yeah, I didn't expect to make this video, but on popular demand, obviously, I have to make a video now. Obviously, I'm going to address the dilution issue with the new share issuance by NIO. When I made my last video, I did not know anything about it. I don't have insider information, as you probably know by now. And when they announce such information, it is equally surprising to you as to me. However, I'm not entirely surprised. Let's go through the situation one by one. First of all, you need to understand the size of the capital raising. So the number is not just any random numbers. It's 181,800,000, 18,000, 18 and 19. I think that's the number. Basically tons of 1818 until we reach at the end is the 19. So that by itself tells you a lot about the intention of this capital raise. It's basically to increase the cash available for global expansion. This is how I read it. Now, what is the situation with NEO when it comes to financials? They're still losing money on the accounting, the traditional accounting basis, they're still losing money. And all the cash they have raised so far has gone into creating the technology and deploying the technology. I addressed this issue in the last video. The question here is, have they already burned enough money or do they still need more money to burn? And obviously the management has decided this is the time to raise equity, this is the time to get more cash, and this is the time to deploy more capital for the growth of the company. As a shareholder, I actually welcome the bold decision because they only have two options right now. If they skimp and save, they will forego future growth and give up market share for future lack of future earnings. Let's call it that way. So it is probably a highly discussed decision based on the internal situation in the company. I have no access to those information, therefore I cannot comment on it. However, based on the progress they have made in the technology and the deployment of the technology, I would say the probability they're going to use this money for international expansion is very, very likely. Let's look at reality here. The American market is currently inaccessible. Currently, let's call it that way. The rest of the world, however, is available. And to expand globally, they need significant output increase and they need to deploy additional capital for international partnerships, for the dealership network to grow, and also for the swapping network to grow. Because as you know, right now, the only country in the world where the swapping works is China. The rest of the world, it does not work yet. For example, in Europe, the experience I have had as a user of the swapping network was not as good as I have observed in China, simply because it don't have enough uh, swapping stations installed in Europe. And each one of the swapping station costs half a million US dollar, 500,000 US dollar for each swapping station. You can imagine it is not easy to deploy the technology on a global basis. However, they will be able to do so with additional capital they raise now, plus they are getting capital partnerships with other companies like CATL to build those networks. One of the things that people keep forgetting is even in China, the current network is not entirely financed by NIO itself. In China right now, the 4,000, let's call it 4,000 plus uh, swap stations. A big chunk of it, I believe about 15% of it, is financed by other capital partners. Globally, if they want to expand the network, they have to deploy far more capital than what they have done so far. Plus, they need to engage with additional investors who is going to be majority owners of those swapping stations. So the question here is, what do you do as a current shareholder? Do you want to bail? If you want to bail because they have raised capital, then I suggest you should bail today. Because end of the day, if that means that you don't believe that the management is able or capable of deploying the capital for the best interest of shareholders, that's basically your vote of non-confidence. From my perspective, the execution they have done so far, based on the situation they have had in China, is actually considered extremely good execution. Don't forget, there's many other brands who has been suffering and died along the way. They also received significant amount of capital injection and still they died. In case of NIO, raising capital right now, I'm not able to judge right now as we speak because I haven't seen the term paper yet. So right now it's just a rumor that 181 million shares gets raised. It is true or not true, I don't know. Most likely it is true because whenever this information gets leaked to the press, it's basically a early stage test of the appetite of the market for the shares. Here's another thing that I want you to understand. Capital raising is not always bad for a company. If a company is dying, it is shrinking. If the company has no other ability to raise money to pay for employees, for example, then capital raising is a very bad idea. Basically, what you're doing is extending the death sentence and dying slowly by thousand cuts. However, in case of NIO right now, we have the strongest product offering of all time. We also have the biggest exposure of the swapping network of all time. Customer satisfaction is most likely at all-time high, and investor sentiment is also at least 1 year high. Let's call it that way. If you talk about trading tonight, of course, the shorts is going to have a good day, and I want to congratulate them if they can cover the short tonight. Tonight is probably the best night of this year to cover your shorts. However, as long today is the first day your faith gets tested. Don't forget, I keep talking about religion, faith, and belief in the mission of NEO 100. Do you know the difference between the true believer and the people who just get shaken out of the shares, the pigs? Tonight is a test, a real world test. Are you a bull? Are you a bear? Or are you a pig? Let me explain to you the differences. The bear is going to have a great night tonight, but the bears will be disciplined and they're going to cover the shares. The bulls will probably stand on the sideline and watch the action first. And then when the right price comes in, maybe at $5, maybe at 5.50, I don't know. And at the right price, the real bull is going to come in and snap up the shares. However, tonight, the most likely scenario is that a lot of people will get shaken in their belief and they become pigs. And in my video talking about the three animals, I talk about converting the bulls into pigs. However, tonight is probably the night where a lot of uh, so I'm converting the pigs into bulls. Sorry, I'm converting pigs into bulls with my video. But tonight is the night where a lot of people will get converted from bulls back into pigs, because from their perspective, anything that resembles a temporary dip is painful, and they cannot tolerate the emotional pain of looking at the ticker symbol going down by 5 to 10% in a day. If that is you, you cannot take that pain. I believe you should not participate in shares like NIO that has high volatility. However, tonight is the night where the people with conviction is going to show. For myself, I'm going to stand on the sideline. I'm definitely not selling anything because we haven't reached the target of NIO 100 yet, and we're far, far away from December 2026. Isn't that true? However, right now, I don't have additional capital to deploy. If I would have additional capital to deploy at this moment, I would deploy over a period of time. So let's imagine if someone handed me $1 million, I would probably start tonight buying 10% of my capital for the next 10 days. That's what I would do, regardless what is the price. Here's the problem. If you want to be winning every single day in the shares you own, that is an impossible task. If you want to win over a short period of time of a week or a month, that is possible, but difficult. The only way for a retail investor to win is by having conviction, understanding the long term trends, and behave according to your animal spirit. So you have to ask yourself the question tonight: are you a bull? Are you a bear? Or are you a pig? Tonight is the night you cast with your vote and you decide over your own fate. It is your decision, not mine. If you think that NEO 100 is no longer attainable because they increased the share by one coffee bean, they basically increased it by about one coffee bean. 2.1 billion shares increased by 180 million. It's basically 10% share increase. That is equivalent of one extra coffee bean. That means my job gets a little bit more difficult. I have to convince two coffee beans to become bulls and hold until 100 US dollar per share. And also, I need to convince those who are already converted not to give up the vision. And this is the reason I always said I, pledge, I pledge my time, effort, and energy to NEO 100, regardless how long it takes. If it does indeed take longer than December 2026, I will be here making videos. If it takes 10 years, I'll make 10-year videos. If it takes 20 years, I'll take 20 years videos. If it takes 2 years, I will be here for 2 years. But the key here is that the most important components of NEO 100 still stands. What are the components? Let me just repeat one more time. Number one, a growth business. Number two, a depreciating US dollar. Number three, a rapidly growing customer base. And number four, technological advancement and leadership. So when you combine all this, the last thing that tonight we will not have, which we did have for about 3 months, is upward momentum of the share price. So the momentum gets disrupted tonight, but the long-term trend is still upwards. And I believe the product speaks for itself, the investors, the sentiment speak for itself. And tonight is the night of all nights in the past 4 months when you get to decide, do you want to be a bull? Do you want to be a bear? Or do you want to be a pig? That is your decision, not mine. I remain to be a bull, and we'll see what happens. Okay, this is as fast a reaction I can give because I literally only found out about the share issuance about 5 minutes ago. Okay, I cannot react any faster than that, but it's a very important thing, and I want everybody to know how I think about it before the market opens so that you can act accordingly. All right, thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll give you a final shot. to know where I am. This is a beautiful background. I hope you like it. See you then.